the arrival that changed everything. The morning sun cast long shadows across New York City when the sky split open like a cosmic wound. Marcus Thompson, a construction worker from Queens, dropped his coffee cup as the massive crystalline ships descended through the clouds. The vessels were beautiful in their alien design, like living jewels that pulsed with inner light. Captain Jessica Wells of the United Nations Defense Force watched from her command center as 17 ships positioned themselves over major cities worldwide. The beings that emerged were unlike anything humanity had imagined. The Zephyrians stood 8 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver and eyes that held the depth of ancient stars. Their leader, Counselor Vexandra, spoke in a voice that resonated through every communication device on Earth. "People of Earth," she announced, her words carrying an otherworldly melody. "We are the Zephyrian Council. We have traveled across the galaxy to offer you a gift beyond your imagination." Dr. Michael Rodriguez, chief scientist at the Global Research Institute, analyzed the first broadcasts with growing amazement. The Zephyrians promised to eliminate poverty, disease, and conflict within 5 years. Their technology could heal the planet's climate, extend human life, and bring prosperity to every corner of the world. The catch seemed almost too good to be true. In exchange for this paradise, humanity would provide something the Zephyrians had lost through their advanced evolution: the ability to experience pure emotion, raw creativity, and the spark of innovation that came from struggle and imperfection. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Hayes observed the first integration centers being established. Humans volunteered by the millions to work alongside the Zephyrians, learning their technologies and sharing human culture. The aliens seemed genuinely fascinated by human art, music, and literature. They studied human emotions with the intensity of scientists, discovering a new form of energy. Within months, the transformation began. Cities became gleaming metropolises with floating gardens and buildings that seemed to grow from the earth itself. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries simply vanished. The oceans cleared, the air purified, and deserts bloomed with new life. Marcus found himself working on construction projects that defied every law of physics he knew. The Zephyrian technology allowed them to build structures that reached toward the stars, held together by forces that seemed almost magical. The work was fulfilling in ways his old job never was, yet something nagged at the edge of human consciousness. The paradise felt too perfect, too controlled. Children born after the arrival seemed different, calmer, more compliant. The fire that had driven humanity to reach for the stars was slowly being extinguished. Dr. Rodriguez noticed it first in his research. Human innovation was declining. The messy, chaotic creativity that had built civilization was being replaced by efficient, logical thinking. Humanity was becoming more like the Zephyrians with each passing day. But the Zephyrians had miscalculated something fundamental about human nature. They had given humanity the tools to build paradise, but they had also given them the means to fight back. The price of paradise. 2 years into the transformation, Detective Nathan Cross noticed the changes in his city. Crime had virtually disappeared, but so had the vibrant chaos that made his hometown feel alive. The streets were clean, the people were content, but something essential was missing from their eyes. The Zephyrian integration centers had become the heart of every major city. Humans worked alongside the silver-skinned aliens in perfect harmony, their minds gradually adapting to Zephyrian logic patterns. The aliens explained this as necessary evolution, the next step in human development. Engineer Lisa Morgan worked in the orbital construction yards, building the massive ring structures that would eventually house millions of humans. The Zephyrians called them harmony habitats, designed to create perfect living conditions for the new hybrid civilization they were creating. But Lisa had begun to notice discrepancies in the construction plans. Hidden chambers, sealed sections, and energy patterns that didn't match the stated purpose of the habitats. When she tried to investigate, she found her clearance mysteriously revoked. Professor James Hartwell taught at the new global university, where Zephyrian knowledge was integrated with human learning. His students were brilliant, far more intelligent than previous generations, but they lacked the spark of curiosity that drove true discovery. They accepted information without question, solved problems without creativity. During a routine lecture on ancient history, James made a startling discovery. The Zephyrians had done this before. Ancient texts from dozens of civilizations described similar visitations, similar promises of paradise. Each time, the visiting species had vanished, leaving behind only ruins and evolutionary dead ends. Captain Wells had been promoted to head the new Unified Defense Force, a joint human-Zephyrian military organization. The aliens assured her it was necessary for protecting Earth from other hostile species. But the weapons they were building seemed designed for subjugation rather than defense. The breaking point came when Dr. Rodriguez discovered the truth about the Zephyrian life cycle. They were not just offering partnership, they were farming humanity. The emotions, creativity, and life force they harvested from humans were necessary for their own reproduction. Each generation of Zephyrians required the consumption of an entire species' collective consciousness. Marcus had been selected for the Ascension program, a process that would fully integrate human and Zephyrian consciousness. As he prepared for the procedure, he overheard Counselor Vexandra speaking to her subordinates about the final harvest. The paradise Earth had become was actually a carefully constructed trap. The Zephyrians had spent 5 years conditioning humanity, making them docile and compliant. The ring habitats weren't homes. They were processing facilities where human consciousness would be extracted and absorbed. Detective Cross formed the first resistance cell, connecting with others who had noticed the inconsistencies. Lisa provided intelligence from the construction projects, while Professor Hartwell researched the aliens' true nature. Dr. Rodriguez worked to develop countermeasures against their technology. The resistance discovered that the Zephyrians had one crucial weakness. Their advanced evolution had cost them the ability to adapt quickly to unexpected situations. They thought in patterns, followed protocols, and couldn't improvise like humans could. Captain Wells made the most difficult decision of her career. She would have to use her position within the Unified Defense Force to turn their own weapons against them. The upcoming Ascension Day would be humanity's last chance to fight back. As the resistance prepared for their desperate gambit, they realized they were fighting for more than survival. They were fighting for the right to be imperfect, chaotic, creative, and ultimately human. The awakening of human spirit, the resistance movement spread through underground networks that the Zephyrians couldn't detect. Humans had one advantage their captors hadn't anticipated: the ability to communicate through art, music, and coded messages that seemed like innocent creativity. Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically in his hidden laboratory, developing weapons that could disrupt Zephyrian technology. The aliens' advanced systems were vulnerable to chaotic energy patterns that human brains naturally generated. Emotional outbursts, creative inspiration, and passionate anger could actually damage their crystalline technology. Marcus had become a double agent within the Ascension program. The Zephyrians trusted him completely, believing their conditioning had made him perfectly compliant. But human stubbornness ran deeper than their psychological manipulation could reach. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes discovered that the Zephyrians had been systematically eliminating human military leaders who showed too much independence. The new generation of officers were brilliant tacticians, but lacked the intuitive battlefield awareness that had made human warriors legendary. The Resistance found an unexpected ally in the form of a young Zephyrian named Kethara. Unlike her elders, she had been born after the integration began and had absorbed human emotional patterns. She was horrified to learn about the planned harvest and agreed to help. Humanity Fight Back. Professor Hartwell uncovered the location of the Zephyrian Command Center, a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice. The aliens had been using Earth's magnetic field to power their consciousness extraction technology. If they could disrupt the facility, they might be able to free the millions of humans already partially processed. Captain Wells faced her greatest challenge yet. The Unified Defense Force was preparing for Ascension Day, when all of Earth's military assets would be transferred to Zephyrian control. She would have to convince her officers to mutiny against their alien allies without revealing the plan too early. Detective Cross organized civilian resistance cells in every major city. They would need to coordinate simultaneous strikes against integration centers worldwide. The timing would be crucial. They had only one chance to catch the Zephyrians off guard. Lisa Morgan worked to sabotage the ring habitats from within. She discovered that the structures could be turned into weapons if their energy systems were reversed. Instead of processing human consciousness, they could generate the chaotic energy patterns that disrupted Zephyrian technology. The breakthrough came when Dr. Rodriguez realized that human dreams were completely incomprehensible to the Zephyrians. The aliens' logical minds couldn't process the surreal, emotional landscape of human subconsciousness. This gave the resistance a way to communicate without detection. As Ascension Day approached, millions of humans experienced the same dream. A call to remember who they were, to embrace their imperfections, and to fight for the right to be human. The Zephyrians noticed the unusual brain activity, but dismissed it as meaningless neural noise. Cathara provided critical intelligence about Zephyrian vulnerabilities. Their crystalline bodies were sustained by harmonic frequencies that could be disrupted by human emotional energy. Love, anger, fear, and joy, all the messy emotions they sought to harvest, were actually toxic to them in concentrated doses. The resistance prepared for the most important battle in human history. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the right to be flawed, creative, and eternally striving for something better. Marcus stood in the Ascension Chamber, surrounded by Zephyrian technology designed to strip away his humanity. But hidden in his pocket was a small device that would signal the beginning of humanity's counterattack. The war for Human Soul. Ascension Day arrived with the false promise of humanity's evolution. Across the globe, millions of humans gathered in integration centers, ring habitats, and ceremonial chambers. The Zephyrians prepared for their final harvest, confident that 5 years of conditioning had made humanity completely docile. Marcus activated the signal device as he stood in the Ascension Chamber. Across the planet, resistance cells received the message through their shared dreams. The uprising began simultaneously in every major city. Captain Wells turned to her officers in the Unified Command Center. "Today, we choose to remain human," she declared, drawing her sidearm. The Loyalist officers hesitated, torn between their conditioning and their buried instincts. In that moment of hesitation, the resistance struck. Dr. Rodriguez unleashed his chaos generators in major population centers. The devices amplified human emotional energy, creating fields of pure creativity and passion that short-circuited Zephyrian technology. The aliens' crystalline forms began to crack and fracture as they were overwhelmed by the intensity of human feeling. Lisa Morgan reversed the polarity of the ring habitats, turning them into massive amplifiers for human consciousness. Instead of draining human creativity, they began broadcasting it across the galaxy. The effect was immediate and devastating to the Zephyrian fleet. Cathara helped Detective Cross infiltrate the primary integration center in New York. The young Zephyrian had learned to appreciate human chaos and now fought alongside the species she had grown to love. Her knowledge of alien technology proved invaluable in the battle. Professor Hartwell led a team of researchers to the Antarctic facility. They fought through automated defenses and Zephyrian guards, driven by the knowledge that humanity's future hung in the balance. The facility's destruction would free millions of partially processed humans. The Zephyrians responded with desperate fury. Counselor Vexandra activated emergency protocols, attempting to accelerate the harvest process. But the resistance had anticipated this. Every act of desperation only made the humans more determined to fight. The battle raged across multiple fronts. In the skies, human pilots flew jury-rigged aircraft against crystalline fighters. The aliens' superior technology was countered by human unpredictability and willingness to take impossible risks. Marcus found himself face to face with Vexandra in the heart of the Ascension Chamber. The Zephyrian leader had abandoned her beautiful facade, revealing the parasitic creature beneath. "You don't understand," she hissed. "We offer you perfection. We offer you peace." "We don't want your peace," Marcus replied, his voice filled with a raw emotion that the aliens found so disturbing. "We want our chaos. We want our struggles. We want our right to be human." The battle turned when humans around the world began to consciously generate emotional energy. Love, anger, hope, and defiance created a planetary field that disrupted every piece of Zephyrian technology. The aliens' ships began falling from the sky dot in the Antarctic facility. Professor Hartwell's team reached the core. The massive crystalline structure pulsed with the consciousness of millions of humans. As they began the shutdown sequence, the processed humans started to awaken, their personalities flooding back like a dam-breaking. Captain Wells coordinated the global counterattack from her command center. Human military forces, freed from alien control, launched simultaneous strikes against integration centers worldwide. The Zephyrian occupation was collapsing under the weight of human determination. Detective Cross watched as ordinary citizens joined the fight. Shop owners, teachers, artists, and laborers took up arms against their former benefactors. The species that had seemed so weak and chaotic proved to be absolutely indomitable when their freedom was threatened. The birth of the Terran Empire, the liberation of Earth, marked the beginning of humanity's greatest transformation. As the last Zephyrian ships fled the solar system, humans discovered they had inherited advanced technology and knowledge that would change their destiny forever. Dr. Rodriguez led the effort to reverse engineer captured Zephyrian technology. The aliens had underestimated human ingenuity, assuming that their advanced science would be incomprehensible to a primitive species. Instead, human creativity found new applications for every piece of alien equipment. Marcus Thompson became the first human to successfully pilot a Zephyrian vessel. The ship responded to his emotional state, powered by the same chaotic energy that had disrupted the alien occupation. Human consciousness, it turned out, was the perfect fuel for interstellar travel. Captain Wells was promoted to Admiral of the Owlie. Newly formed Terran Space Force, the unified military that had been created to serve the Zephyrians, became the foundation for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Her first mission was to track down fleeing alien ships and rescue any humans who had been taken. Professor Hartwell discovered that the Zephyrians had left behind detailed star charts and information about other species they had harvested. Humanity learned they were not alone in the galaxy. Dozens of civilizations had fallen to the same parasitic aliens over the millennia. Kethara chose to remain on Earth, becoming the first non-human citizen of the emerging Terran Empire. Her knowledge of galactic politics and alien psychology proved invaluable as humanity prepared to take its place among the stars. Lisa Morgan designed the first human-built starships, combining Zephyrian technology with human engineering principles. These vessels were faster, more adaptable, and far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had seen before. They were powered by human dreams and driven by human ambition. Detective Cross established the Terran Intelligence Service, dedicated to identifying and preventing future alien infiltrations. The resistance networks that had saved Earth became the foundation for an intelligence apparatus that would protect humanity throughout the galaxy. The transformation of Earth continued as humans adapted alien technology to their own purposes. Cities rebuilt themselves with living architecture that responded to human emotion. Art and music evolved to incorporate galactic scales and cosmic themes. Dr. Rodriguez made the most significant discovery of all. The chaotic energy that humans naturally generated was incredibly rare in the galaxy. Most species had evolved toward order and logic, losing the spark of creativity that drove innovation. Humanity was unique in their ability to generate new ideas and adapt to any situation. Within a year, the first Terran colonies were established on worlds previously held by the Zephyrians. Human settlers brought their chaotic energy to sterile, alien environments, transforming them into vibrant, living worlds. The galaxy had never seen anything like human terraforming techniques. Admiral Wells led the first diplomatic mission to contact other species. Humanity's reputation had spread quickly. They were the first species to successfully resist Zephyrian harvesting. Other civilizations began to seek Earth as an ally against the crystalline parasites. The Terran Empire grew rapidly, not through conquest, but through liberation. Human fleets tracked down Zephyrian harvesting operations and freed enslaved species. Each victory added new allies to the growing coalition. Against the galactic parasites, Doc Marcus stood on the bridge of humanity's first dreadnought, watching as they approached the Zephyrian homeworld. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They had taught humanity to think on a galactic scale. Now Earth's children would ensure that no other species would suffer the fate the Zephyrians had planned for humanity. The paradise that had been offered as a trap became the foundation for humanity's greatest achievement. The Terran Empire was born not from conquest, but from the fundamental human refusal to surrender their chaotic, creative, beautifully imperfect nature. In just 5 years, humanity had gone from a single world to a galactic power. The species that had seemed so primitive and emotional had proven that chaos and creativity were the most powerful forces in the universe.